He is the world's most successful commercial real estate agent and a celebrity to everybody I know. It is Jay Luchs. Hi, Jay. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm a little starstruck. I have to be honest.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So thrilled to have you on the show, and you've been doing.
I'm going to turn you up a little bit. Sorry, my friend.
Okay, great. I can scream too.
All right.
I'm so excited to have you on the show. I've been seeing you do a lot on IGTV. You're doing market reports. You're telling people about lifting the ban on restaurants. How important is social media to your brand right now during COVID?
Well, that's a great question. I always joke around when I do things like, I'm not an influencer, but, and there was one where I got more than usual when I was talking about Prop 15, which was, and by the way, I went from workout to a call that I should have taken to shower to here. So
no, I just got out of the shower. I'm like sweating.
I will admit that's kind of the deal. But on that one, I got an unusual amount of responses, just because Prop 15 was so important to everyone in LA. If it had happened, the tax pass-through would have hurt everybody. It would have been crazy.
Exactly.
So, anyway.
Well, I love to see you active on social because you are the world's most successful commercial real estate agent. Your signs are everywhere. This is me going for coffee this morning. I saw 4 signs. I live on Sunset Plaza, and we see you all the time. So I wanted to really start off with the Q&A and just get
started. Thank you.
So here's our Q&A with Jay. We got some questions from our audience. How important is it to find your niche in real estate?
Well, it's incredibly important because you kind of at an early age or whatever age you get into a new business, get thrown into something. Like when I was growing up, my dad said, if you're going to do real estate, you should be an office tenant rep. Now, later in my life, through retail, I've become an office tenant rep. But I remember hearing him say that, and it meant something to me, but I didn't know why. I fell into retail. I met someone while I was interviewing at CAA, the talent agency, about being a potential talent agent. I met with someone who said, you should go check out this real estate company my friend works out. My friend Darren actually said, go do that before you consider CAA. Just meet him. And I did. And at that time, not to age myself, but they were repping the Gap and Banana Republic and Jamba Juice and Noah's Bagels. So I rode around in a car in Starbucks, and I was in the car with these people looking for locations, not knowing what I was doing. But I fell into it. And then a few years later, something popped up on Rodeo Drive, and I went after it. And then there became like a true love for something. When I got the fashion bug of repping fashion brands, my life did change. And now if a fashion deal happens and I'm not a part of it or don't know about it, I almost take it like personally. You get kind of really attached to knowing everything going on.
I love that. What you did, you found your niche, and then you leased over 50 locations on Rodeo alone. And you have this amazing quote that I wanted to share with everyone. I thought maybe it's time to get into a business that, from what I've heard, gets better with age. Do you think that's true now?
I remember actually saying that to myself while I was at UPN Television Network in 1997, when I was in my 20s and I just moved to LA. And I remember saying, after watching the heads of networks come and go, because I wanted to be president of NBC Network and the entertainment group. Like that was kind of the path I thought I was on.
Yeah, you were in TV programming.
Yeah, I was. As an assistant. But I was on my way, meeting all the right people, and I really loved that. And then I remember just thinking that. Something told me, and maybe I heard it or maybe it was in my head, but I just remember thinking, in real estate, it gets better with age. It does. Like wine. And it actually has turned out to be true.
I love that. Audience, write that down in your journal. It's good to know. Something else you said that I love is retail is changing forever, like the publishing industry or the music industry. It doesn't mean it's dead. I always say that real estate is like fashion, and it changes every 2 years, and you've got to keep up with the trends. And there's no one who keeps up with the trends more than you, Jay. Do you still believe that's true?
Thank you. And yes, because if you really think about it, the business has been completely changed. And when I meet people now who are in their early 20s or 25 years old, let's just use that as an example, and we're talking fashion because we're driving around looking for locations or whatever it might be. Or maybe I just know a 25-year-old. But if you talk to people that are younger, they don't even remember when the only way you could buy clothes was to walk in that store.
Exactly.
When I moved to LA, I got a cell phone from AirTouch, which AT&T bought. No one was dealing with, by the way, this is ridiculous. Like, should I go like put on a freaking, this is what happens when you take a shower and you jump on a call. But anyway.
You mean you're sweating?
It's just water, but yeah. I'm gonna put on a jacket, hold on.
Oh, don't worry about it. Well, meanwhile, we'll look at his awesome living room. You guys can ask questions.
I'm putting on a ski jacket so I don't have to look at myself sweating.
You guys, I love this. You guys can ask.
All right, this is a Montclair jacket. They will be going to Rodeo Drive, expanding into double the size, just so you know.
Yes. Wait, did you lease their new office space or their new store?
I showed them a location on Rodeo Drive 2 years ago, and they ended up taking that space and moving out of their small one. So they will be opening a large one, yes.
Julie Luck says, get an ice water. Is that your sister?
Yes. Thank you, Julie. I love you.
Thank you, Julie. I love you. So luxury retail, yes.
My sister worked at LVMH and The Gap and David Yurman in PR for 15 years of her life.
Oh my God.
She knew a lot of people and sent me a lot over the years. So Julie has been a big part of my business too.
I think I love that. As 15 years at LVMH, it's huge. I bet she got a lot of swag.
She did. She got a little bit, but she worked crazy hours and knew everything and knew everybody. And really, over the years, from PR people to heads of real estate, she's introduced me to a lot of some of my best clients. Like really, it's been awesome. And I love my sister and her kids. So shout out.
Hey, thank you, Julie. I love what you said about finding your niche, because I found a niche in PR and real estate, and I feel like when I connected those dots, my whole life and career changed, and it sounded like it was the same for you. Catherine Francesca says, just take your top off. Catherine, I'm not so sure. You're the first guest on our show to wear a ski jacket. Moving on, if you're just joining us, we're speaking with Jay Lutz, the king of commercial real estate, who's also a VP over at Newmark, Knight and Frank, and recently started his own residential firm called Schaefer and Lutz. But residential is secondary to your commercial, obviously.
Yeah, actually, Steven Schaefer is my residential partner, and he happens to be from Potomac, Maryland. He's the better looking half for sure. He grew up, and he's like 15 years younger than me, but we became bros at dinners, you know, and had some mutual friends. And 5-6 years ago, we were talking, and I had a family, my sister and I had a family called Shannon and Lux, the family company that sold when we were in high school. And it had a huge residential component, and I always missed it. And I always kind of wanted to have that. It was more like just, you know, if your dog dies, you know, it's like you miss something. It was a family business that sold, and I just missed seeing the signs everywhere. And Steven and I were talking, and I said, I actually think that you're my guy. Like, my business is becoming where I walk into a restaurant.
Oh, you got to call people.
I had just told Steven, whenever I go out, people will say, do you do residential? And if I say, I know a guy, it doesn't work the same as when I say, yes, I do. So Steven and I have jumped in it together and sold some incredible houses to some great people. And it's a real business now, but he knows how to do it. And I bring in on my end as much as I can in terms of people and clients. And he has his own, and we're partners in that business.
Well, let's go back to our Q&A with Jay. We got distracted because he had to change. But we're going back to our Q&A with Jay. Jay, what is the deal you're most proud of after 20 years in the business?
There's two. There's a more recent one, and there's one more in the beginning of my career. And actually, the one more recent, it comes back that I could almost say three. So let me start with this. The Malibu Lumberyard I leased in 2004, 5, and 6. It was dirt. And I sat there, got hired. A lady I used to work with at Epstein named Karen Klein said, I want you to be my partner. I'm not into this thing. I know you're the guy. And she stepped out. We were partners and let me do everything with Richard Weintraub and Richard Sperber, these two landlords in LA that I still know very well.
Right.
They let me run with this property. And it was a time when there was no Instagram. I don't know if there was internet. We had Ralph Lauren calling himself, to get a third store in Malibu. We had J. Crew, we had Mickey Drexler calling because we weren't accepting names that were big. We wanted anyway, it ended up being James Purse, Intermix, Maxfield, Tory Burch, Theory, Kitson, Crumbs Cupcakes are huge, Randy Gerber's restaurant, Intermix, Alice and Olivia. That was kind of the mix, but I have a paper saved upstairs that I'm going to frame that has my original names, and I had written Scoop. That was my first tenant to go to. And then I went to James Purse, who's still a client. And
he is, yeah.
He brought his father in, which is Maxfield, and then that took off. So when James did his thing, that was one. The second one comes full circle. In 2003, when I was 2 years old, I was hired to lease the Brooks Brothers space. It became Brooks Brothers from Tommy Hilfiger. It was an empty white elephant on Rodeo Drive at Santa Monica Boulevard.
We all know it.
I really wanted my hands on it. And through a lawyer at Tommy Hilfiger, and now I know Tommy well, and he's been nothing but amazing. But at that time, I did not know anyone there. The lawyer gave me a chance to sublease their space. And it wasn't a big deal for me at that time. It was just a short-term sublease that turned into Brooks Brothers taking it for 15 years.
Incredible.
I got to know that landlord, and he asked me to sell the building for him a few years ago.
What?
And, it sold, and I assembled a few properties for LVMH, where they're going to now build the Cheval Blanc Hotel, which for LA and for Beverly Hills, it's a beautiful deal to be a part of because I love the community so much. You know, Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, Malibu,
absolutely,
Brentwood. I just love our town, and that's a major deal for the whole town, and I'm excited about it. So there's a lot of deals I love doing, whether they're small or large, but that one took so much effort, and it's nice to know that it came together.
And you never know where a deal is going to take you. I mean, your career is a beautiful example of that. One thing leads to the next. And do you consider yourself a city shaper? Like when I go around this town and you decide who comes into these neighborhoods, you decide what stores and what vision is going to shape Melrose or Sunset Plaza or Rodeo, Malibu even. Do you see yourself that way?
Well, I love hearing you say it. And I have to say that, yes, that's what it becomes because it becomes your own monopoly board. There's no one writing the rules. This is not a Rick Caruso, Palisades Village, or the Grove. What we do on street deals is deal with different personalities, different landlords. Some are amazing, some are not. Some inherited their buildings and know nothing about real estate. Others know, I mean, I'm just saying, really.
No, it's true. It's true.
Many of them don't. They don't know real estate, but they were handed a building, and we have to deal with personalities. While others bought the building 3 years ago and they want to build up and do something amazing, but then they have the issue of we need the certain rent. I mean, to be able to factor in rent, location, size, and you're trying to make both sides happy, it becomes more of a process than just throwing a tenant in. But the most important part, aside from the structure of a deal, which is one very important part of it,
right,
is the tenant mix. Because if you start throwing off one or two of the wrong tenants, you can change a street for the worse. And if you also bring in an amazing one or two, all of a sudden it becomes something. So like on Cannon Drive, when James Purse and Aloe Yoga and now Yosemite came in, and you already have all these restaurants, all of a sudden everyone's asking, what's up with Cannon Drive? Never heard of it. You know, you create streets as you go if you're in touch with all the brands.
You make streets hot and you shape the city. I've been in the city for 18 years. You've been doing this for 20 years. I've seen your signs my entire life, and then you'll bring in the vibe. So I'll really congratulate you on that. Let's take a question from the audience. What are your thoughts on Main Street retail versus shopping center retail currently? I think this question.
Great question. And before I answer it, because you asked me about residential, I love my own commercial team too. Jenny and Ashley and Gavin and Eni and Corinne, they're my people, and Amanda, who used to work with us. Like I have a wonderful group of people in my life that have helped make me and this business what it is. So it's really important that I give that shout out.
Shout out to the team.
Back to what you were saying.
This is the COVID question. Like we see all these empty malls and stores, and I can't tell if your business is booming or if this is giving you a headache.
Well, I love what I do, and it's not a headache, but it's from March 1st till now, or whatever the date when this COVID really started, my business did become more spending hours sitting right here on calls, walking in circles around the rooms, having real sweat, not shower sweat. Trying to get rent deferral, rent reduction with different personalities, as we just discussed, really sobering, I guess is the word. And you can't teach it. You can't learn it in high school or college. You can't even learn it on the job. You learn it in 2020 as you go. And that's
right,
what
exactly. But has this been, like, for us, it's been a year of immense growth. What has COVID been like for you?
At first, I would say incredibly scary. I would say right now, because of the vaccine, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I would say that we don't know yet what the hangover will look like, because while we get a vaccine, while we're all going to go to the next restaurant we can, when we can, soon, maybe even Friday, and everyone wants to get back to life.
Yes.
What do you think happens to all the people that now, when the ban is lifted and they owe rent, they really owe rent? Who's right and wrong? The landlord is going to say, I have a mortgage, I'm hurting, I own 100 buildings and I'm rich, but now I'm worth 90% less than I was worth. I mean, you'll hear everything.
Right.
The tenant, why should a tenant pay rent? It's like, where was the government or some miracle over time? Because really, when you think about it, both sides are the tenant and both are technically right. Why should a landlord pay a bank, or why should a tenant pay a landlord when no one did anything wrong? If you sign a lease in 2018 and you run for the wilderness and laugh, that's different. When COVID hits you from every angle and everyone around you is literally dying in real life and businesses are dying, how do you survive? No one's going to make back double to pay back what they couldn't pay.
Exactly.
So we're in a spiral. It's not over. I'm deep in the middle of it. I would like to say I have more deals now than I did, but this whole year is going to be like last year. It's all over the place.